Yo, welcome everyone back into Crypto's News. It is me, Omar Bam, aka Crypto, ready to give you the latest and the greatest and the most important news you need to be on top of in order to make the best decisions in crypto for yourself. As always, just use this as a starting off point to go ahead and dig a little bit deeper. Don't take anything at face value. It's not a recommendation to make any sort of investment, but hopefully it puts you on the right track to succeed in this crazy world where there are so many different opportunities. I thank you so much for joining me. We're going to go ahead and dive right into things. Hey, everyone live. What's up, BT, Meredith, Rose, and Kevin? Good to see you. And Pretzel Meat. Thank you. That was a pretty funny emoji that you put up there, man. I kind of appreciated that. So let's go ahead and start off with the prices. As you can see, we have Bitcoin up 3.1%. It's at $19,613, up 3.9% on the week, so nice to see that. We have Ethereum up 1.7% over the last 24 hours at $1,343. And that is pretty much the story. We had a nice gain following what's going on with the stock market here in the United States, snapping a 6-day losing streak. Is it the longest since basically COVID began back in 2020? So nice to see a little bit break there. Cryptos have been wanting to kind of break the mold in that direction and not trade to the south with stocks. So I think it's a sign that there might be a little bit more of a rotation seemingly happening into crypto, maybe an awareness central banks cannot save everything. I'm hearing more talk and chatter about that. We'll get into more of that subject a little bit later on. I think some opportunities that definitely exist if you do feel like you want to get into different coins. Chainlink, interestingly, was up 14% on the week, but I think that's kind of nothing compared to some of the news that we're going to look at later for Chainlink. It's actually down 1% on the day. To me, it is a sign that there's some front running that's still taking place in the market, because why would Chainlink have been up randomly so much when it's been basically flat recently? I guess some people got wind about what was coming up today, so they were able to make obviously trades ahead of others. And I wonder if it's similar right now with Uniswap. Not any sort of major news for Uniswap or the Uni token that I've seen recently, but it's up 23.2% on the week, almost 25%. That's pretty huge. Could something be coming? Could something in the cards be for Uniswap? Maybe. Just wanted to take a note of that. USDC coin, that one should be up more. It's had some news today. What's going on with these? Oh, it's a stable coin. Haha. Bad joke, I know. But yeah, we had a situation. We had a central bank reverse course. That's the Bank of England, which announced that they're going to be doing unlimited purchases of long-dated UK bonds, which are known as gilts, GILTs, and they're going to be doing that to restore an orderly market conditions. But they were supposed to be actually selling into next week. Now they're going to be doing unlimited buys. The purchases of these purchases will be to restore orderly market conditions. They said in a statement, the central bank, the purchases will be carried out on whatever scale is necessary to affect this outcome. I don't know if it should be effect or affect. Anyway, that is massive. That is a central bank saying that they're going to, again, be doing unlimited money printing, which is kind of weird considering that the pound has been suffering against the dollar. Today, it did manage to catch a bid, but I do wonder if this portends substantial more downside for the pound. My understanding, this is going to be going through until October 31st. They're going to be doing this unlimited bond buying, but that is super insanely inflationary. And it's a sign, others are saying, that central banks are not just willing to continue to hammer and hammer and hammer like you're seeing in the United States. They can only do so much before they're going to have to come in, step in, and ease market conditions, which would help assets like cryptocurrencies and stocks to a great degree. That's why you saw the reversal in the stock market today after this announcement. That's quite massive. So from my understanding, this would have really impacted the pension funds in the UK, which is why this could have caused some sort of real serious credit crunch that some are saying would have been a complete collapse of the financial system in the UK. I'm seeing commentators say, but apparently in a statement it was said, were dysfunction in this market to continue or worsen, there would be a material risk to UK financial stability. This could lead to a reduction of the flow of credit to businesses and households. So it seems that they had their hands tied here and they did have to reverse course and announce that they would be doing unlimited bond buying. Looks like a strategist at Rabobank, Richard McGuire, said, "We've seen a dramatic reversal, but this is hardly a well-functioning market. There's very thin liquidity." This is insane. This is basically one central bank getting the green light to buy. It could be coming up for others as well. It's the collapse, possibly, of fiat playing before our eyes and growing distrust in that. In other news, we're just going to go ahead and go through the news. I will be coming back to that subject as we move forward here and definitely towards the end, but we have plenty of crypto news that is specific to get into. So if you haven't noticed yet, if you have a Chipotle near you and you love their burritos or you like their queso dip, or maybe you have yet to try out their new garlic guajillo steak. They're celebrating Ethereum's move proof of stake with granting 99.95% off their new flavor of steak at Chipotle. Interesting to see a mainstream kind of franchise supporting a decentralized upgrade. It's just kind of wild, so I had to remark on that. But yeah, they're not natively accepting ETH, but they are accepting it through the Flexa or Spedin app, SPEDN, which you can download, deposit some ETH and get started. You can go ahead and pay and get that huge discount. I think it was up to a $50,000 limit. They were subsidizing it, but maybe you still have a chance because from my understanding, a lot of people are having problems getting this to work. The person at the store just doesn't have the right buttons in there. They weren't trained properly to use this. So I don't know that it's rolled out as well as they had hoped, but it seems to have at least given some free publicity to Chipotle, or had a lot of Ethereum folk walk in there and spend their money anyway. But if it does work out for you, that would be pretty neat. Maximum $20 per transaction. And yeah, I know I'm pretty hungry making this video, so I would have liked to have taken advantage of it. Of course, I prefer to use decentralized cryptos rather than more centralized applications, but that's just me. Let's go. Hey, Liam, nice to see you guys. Thank you for joining in. 10 pence, of course. And I'm so happy to be back with you, Dr. Berg. Hope to continue to do that. Thanks for those of you guys who support the content. It is what allows me to do that. Again, huge thanks to Michael who helped with my timestamps in the past. He was able to give me a contribution that basically helped me quite a bit over this little period here. It's going to be a transitionary period for the show coming up soon, but it's been a huge help, as well as those who support through Patreon, through any sorts of tips. We can now do super chat on the show as of yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, I'm sorry. So that'll go a long way to allow me to do this too. So thank you all for support. Just showing up is a huge help, especially now that we got ads finally on the show. But Swift has indeed, this has been in rumored, anticipated forever. But Chainlink has finally partnered or announced a partnership with Swift. So Swift is the messaging system that banks use to transfer money between each other in a nutshell. So they have partnered with Chainlink, a decentralized service platform now for cryptocurrency that some are even calling the Amazon services. You know how Amazon provides so many cloud services. Chainlink basically doing the same here and hopes to do the same for Swift, as you can see here. It's going to enable this new cross-chain interoperability protocol that is being developed between the two to instruct on-chain token transfers, helping the interbank network to better able communicate across all blockchain environments that are supported by Chainlink, which onboards more and more different blockchains. So this is really, really massive. Actually, really huge, because it will enable banks to speak almost directly to cryptocurrencies through Chainlink. So the banks want something to get done, they push this to the CCIP, this cross-chain interoperability protocol or whatever, and this makes something happen on the blockchain. So you can imagine Swift having different blockchain wallets, right? And they have them funded with cryptocurrencies in order to pay the fees for this to take place. Or they just work directly with Swift. I'm not exactly sure of the details of how this could work, but it basically allows banks to create almost native services that operate with cryptocurrencies, granting even more functions for users around the world. And I think this is a huge boon that could reduce frictions and allow more people to engage with these networks. So I would say this is really, really massive news for cryptocurrency overall, considering how Chainlink has become the trusted oracle network, where if you want to feed real world data or any sort of data into a sort of blockchain to make something happen, to get price feeds or whatever, you can trust that Chainlink is going to be there to do it with many nodes, getting that information accurately from many different feeds, for example. Chainlink has also announced that they're going to be working with even more crypto projects, Avalanche, Metis, Moonbeam, Moonriver, and potentially even more for their new programs that are finally going to allow for Chainlink to be staked. So it says here that they're going to be launching the new Scale and Build program. So the Scale program will reduce the cost of putting Oracle data and reports on chain by further boosting development, it says here on decrypt.co, and splitting costs among a greater number of participants. The projects will contribute a portion of their own revenue in the form of tokens in return for premium Chainlink services like data feeds with higher update frequencies to enable more advanced and low latency smart contract applications. That's just one use. As you can see here, there is a lot. For example, Chainlink is used for random number generation. You can trust that this number hasn't been seen before, that it is random. You can do that for so many different applications. It's necessary for price data feeds, as we mentioned before, for the weather, see what's going on right now. And shout outs to those who are going through it in Florida right now with this hurricane. Hopefully it works out really well for you or any friends or family that you have out there. but being able to get data like that and push that into the blockchain could be useful. There's also a build program for early stage projects, which gives priority access to Chainlink services in exchange for native tokens of these different projects. So Chainlink, a few huge upgrades that were announced today, and we can see why it was pumping. Although the sell-off, so if this was supposed to be some sort of sell the news like event, it really hasn't done much. It's only down 1%, still sitting at $7.84. One of the most held tokens apparently in the UK, as per the poll data that we looked at in the last video. What's up? Nice to see you, Validator ETH. Hey, Carlos, nice to have you as well. Thank you for the support. Not cut you off, but Ethereum went deflationary yesterday. Yeah, I did read that. Yesterday, Ethereum was deflationary. It depends over the last 24 hours. It depends on fees and other data on whether ETH is deflationary on that day. If we have continued deflationary days like yesterday, over and over, and that becomes the majority of the year, then you could argue that ETH was deflationary for that year. That's pretty huge. Either way, it's just been a massive drop off in the supply that is out there. I think this could already be playing a role in Ethereum holding up so well. I don't know. I'm extremely bullish over the longer term with Ethereum. Continue to be, of course. So more news. It looks like Circle, you might know them because they have been the progenitors of the USDC stablecoin, has announced that they're going to be expanding to 5 new chains. So I think that's going to be a total of 13 new blockchains that they're on right now. So they're going to be coming natively to Arbitrum 1, to Near, Optimism, and Polkadot by the end of the year. Cosmos sometime in early 2023. So expanding multi-chain support, a statement had been said for USDC opens the door for institutions, exchanges, developers, and more to innovate and have easier access, less friction to a trusted and stable digital dollar. It continues to grow, this project, since it came out, when was it? I believe in 2017. Circle has also partnered with Robinhood, so the exchange, the brokerage rather, where a lot of people like to buy stocks. They might not be buying as much crypto as they once were. We saw that the revenues have come from a large part from crypto, especially during the bull market, but they announced that those had dropped off of a cliff. But still, they're doubling down on cryptocurrencies. They're going to be offering educational modules for users in the app, who will be these people who participate, maybe yourself. You can earn USDC rewards. You'll be able to earn these dollars for participating in these modules. And it looks like Robinhood is also going to be doing something with Circle to upgrade their payment infrastructure to improve settlements, according to this release, across Robinhood products. And this is going to be fully integrated in 2023. It was announced last week that USDC was coming to Robinhood, and this is just more of an entanglement, I suppose you could say. This was announced in San Francisco at the first Circle crypto conference, their first conference ever that's taking place today. I think Chainlink is also doing their conference today, so 2 conferences taking place at the same time. I also remarked on IOTA and how they were going to be launching their incentivized testnet token, ShimmerNet, whatever you want to call it, was going to be launching, and that did take place. As they are on their way to IOTA 2.0, which will remove the centralized coordinator, which is there to, from my understanding, it can't reorder transactions, it can't front run folks, but it can be used to stop the network, as has happened in the past, and restart it, and a few other things. But anyway, this new ShimmerNet is there to test things out before they go onto the mainnet. It can be used for feeless NFTs, it can be used for smart contracts, and it has finally launched. So I did want to give you a heads up that it seems like everything went just fine with that. So props to those of you who have been waiting for that upgrade. We've had a string of step downs from cryptocurrency rather, in the industry. You've had Jesse Powell from Kraken. You've had Alex Mashinsky step down as CEO of Celsius, although he'll still be there for the bankruptcy proceedings for Celsius. You have Jesse stepping down as CEO, but yeah, he's still going to be on the board. So he's just coming down from an insane amount of hours to just 40 hours a week, he says. You have the FTX US president stepping down, Brett Harrison. And we've now, the latest one is today, the Genesis director who has been there for about 5 years is ready to take some time and move on to the next chapter. So it's interesting, you have all these people at the heads of crypto companies stepping down and not at their leading roles. Maybe the bear market is just not the most exciting time to be running these companies. Although you had some like Jesse announce that they would be doing this well in advance. So it shouldn't be too much of a surprise for some. They're stepping down during the bear market. But for others, it's being seen as a sign that, I don't know. It's a changing of the cloth, I guess you could say, or whatever the right phrase is, as we get into what some are labeling the second part of the bear market before we get into the bull market again. I don't know. Michael Saylor was the other big head who stepped down, although. Again, MicroStrategy, his company, continues to buy Bitcoin, as they just announced a 300 Bitcoin buy earlier. Was it this week or was it last week? I lose track of time. I believe that was last week, actually. So there was a situation where an MEV, a maximum extractable value bot that had been programmed and making a huge amount of ETH, got hacked by a hacker today after earning over $1 million in a transaction that he was able to basically not front run, but take advantage of, rather. So this is covered by Bert C. Miller here on Twitter. So imagine making 800 ETH in a single arb, and an hour later then losing 1,100 ETH, to a hacker. Here's a story of 0x bad code. So a vanity address, we talked about those in the last video. An MEV bot who gained and lost it all in a few hours tonight. 0x bad code is a prefix of the contract for a meme pool bot that's been pretty active on ETH in the last few months. In that time, they sent 220,000 transactions to Ethereum, I believe all ARBs, or trying to cancel ARBs. So these were either all arbitrages or trying to take advantage and cancel arbitrages themselves. So MEV bots, basically, they find out what they might, for example, be the miner or the validator who gets to look at all the transactions that are going to be included in a block by being at the head of that, and then having the ability to reorder transactions or get their own transaction in front of other ones to basically front run and take advantage of information. It's kind of information asymmetrical, but it allows for certain validators to run, for example, certain programs like MEV Boost that let them earn more money for being validators. But it's a real situation about whether it's the right thing to do and whether MEVs are ethical. But anyway, let's continue. So this is a bot that was taking advantage of different transactions like that. Earlier today, some poor soul tried to sell 1.8 million in CUSDC on Uniswap version 2. They got a $500 out in return, so they really, really screwed up there. And they only got spit out $500 instead of 1.8 million they should have been due. Meanwhile, this generated massive arbitrage opportunity. 0x bad code dutifully backran the ARB in the meme pool in a long ARB touching many protocols. The profit from this was 800 ETH. But just an hour later, all of 0x bad code's ETH was stolen. I'll let the reader make the joke about the code themselves, because it seems it might have been badly coded, this bot, right? Digging in, it seems that the 0x bad code did not properly protect the function that they used to execute their DYDX, a DeFi platform, flash loans. Note call function, which is the function called by the DYDX router as a part of flash loan execution. When you get a flash loan in the protocol. You're borrowing from will call, a standardized function on your contract. In this case, DYDX called call function on 0x bad code. 0x bad code's code unfortunately allowed for arbitrary execution. The attacker used this to get 0x bad code to approve all of the wrapped ether for spending on their contract. The attacker then simply transferred the WETH, the wrapped ETH, out to their address. Stay safe and protect your execution function, searchers. Bad code, great content. Surprised that at this point this stuff happens on chain and there's not a thread about it 4 hours later. So thanks for the heads up on all of this, Bert C. Miller. Painful for at least two parties that were involved here. That person who tried to do the initial Uniswap version 2 transaction, and of course the MEV bot controller who really missed out on this one. I, for example, heard, oh, maybe the person who programmed the bot for the person and sold it to them knew that this was an issue and they were waiting for something to go wrong so they could front run it. I don't know. That's all tinfoil hat theory that I'm hearing out there. But in actuality, if you get over to a transaction that was posted on Etherscan, it looks like there was a message that was given out to the hacker on behalf of the MEV bot controller. It said this: if you do the, you actually have to get in there and translate it because it was put in there in byte. I can't remember the name right now. A certain kind of byte code. So congratulations on this. We got careless, and you sure managed to get us good. But that was not easy to see. We would like this cooperate with you on resolving this matter. Returns the funds to this address before September 28th at this time, and we will consider this a white hat. We will give you 20% of the retrieved amount as a bug bounty payable as you see fit. Should the funds not be returned by them, we will have no choice to pursue accordingly with everything in our power with the appropriate authorities to retrieve our funds. And this is just a silly comment that was posted by someone else, seemingly not a response from the hacker, but this was a funny response nevertheless. What about normal people who you have MEV'd and literally effed them? Will you return them? Return the funds to all people before remember, there were over 200,000 transactions that this bot had engaged in to earn those 1,100 ETH plus over the time period that it was running. Turn the funds to all people before September 28th at the same time, and we will consider this a white hat. We will give you 1% of the retrieved amount as a good heart sign, payable as you see fit. Should the funds not be returned by then, we will have no choice but to pursue accordingly with everything in our power with the appropriate authorities to retrieve our funds. Hey, if the MEV users are taking advantage of code in order to extract value from others, is it ethical to use bad code to to extract value from someone like that? I will leave that for you to decide. FTX has apparently won an auction yesterday to buy out Voyager, the now bankrupt company, for $1.4 billion in a winning bid. And according to this Cointelegraph article, it seems that they are also interested in buying Celsius, the now defunct other company that allowed for earning yields as well, which the CEO just stepped down. So we will see if it comes to that, but it does seem to be the case that Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX are interested in buying up more and more of these distressed companies. So FTX has reportedly been in talks with investors to raise $1 billion. FTX is, it's not necessarily true that they're going to be giving a $1 billion offer to Celsius to try to buy them up. Although Celsius has, I believe, they owe about $4.2 billion or something like that out to creditors, and they only had like $2.4 billion in their balance sheet. So they're down like $2 billion. They have a hole like that. But still, if they were only bought for $1 billion, that would still leave people out about $3 billion since money hasn't really been returned to creditors just yet. So not a really great deal. But again, it's not necessarily true that the $1 billion FTX is raising is to just be used for buying up Celsius. especially since they're valued at $32 billion from what I had read. But we will see what that deal looks like and if it's something that Celsius is interested in. We don't know yet when Voyager funds could be returned, but it does seem like now it is going to be the case. The people who had funds on Voyager will have to open up perhaps some sort of account on FTX, or it'll be opened automatically up on their behalf to be able to either get some sort of equity token that will be created, like a Voyager IOU token, like the old Bitfinex token that existed, or whether they'll get some sort of share of proceeds, like a percentage of what they had on the platform. That's still being worked out. But notably, at least Voyager seems to be moving forward with plans and announcing more of their plans, and Celsius has been very slow to do that and to make any sorts of announcements on behalf of their customers. So this is really, really interesting. So to go back to what we were discussing in the beginning with the Central Bank of England, the Bank of England reverse course and announcing that they're going to, instead of selling bonds, be doing unlimited buying of those gilt bonds in the UK. We had some commentary today that was delivered at CNBC Delivering Alpha Conference. Today, Wednesday. So Stanley Druckenmiller is considered one of the most legendary investors of all time, the CEO of Duquesne Family Office. And he had some comments to say. He said that the Fed's actions helped blow up the wildest raging asset bubble ever seen. That doesn't seem like he really is a fan of what's going on with the Fed very much. Announced that this kind of inflation was not part of their mandate. He does believe that it's going to be kind of a miracle if we make it to the end of 2023 without the Fed causing a recession in their efforts to combat inflation. So not too much of a surprise, something else that we've heard from many others over time. He does remain skeptical about whether the Fed is going to follow through, however. So do I. I mean, just take a look at, again, what's going on with the Bank of England. Maybe just a sign of what's going to be coming in the United States soon. They're talking a big talk, but will they be able to follow through? I don't know. So Stanley Druckenmiller said, let's see what happens if we get a hard landing. So we do get some sort of recession, maybe even depression through the end of the year and into next year. You have to slay the dragon, and the chair is right, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. You're probably going to have some pain. This is what's interesting in relation to crypto, specifically his commentary here. So he says that he's staying away from assets, including Bitcoin and other cryptos. I think even some crypto folks are doing the same. They're kind of waiting on the sidelines, waiting in stable coins, waiting for a bottom. Some people are still waiting for $10,000 Bitcoin before getting involved. As the Fed continues to tighten, right? However, and I think I agree with him here, the long-term case for crypto does seem to rise in opportunity if central banks start to reverse course, much like the Bank of England did today. I could see cryptocurrency having a big role in a renaissance, a reemergence, because people just aren't going to trust central banks. And of note, it's just interesting. You had Chancellor on the brink in Germany back when put it in the first the first block of Bitcoin, and it was in relation to central banks having to reverse course, really systemic problems rearing their ugly head. That is exactly why cryptocurrency was born. And it does seem that they may be the exact same reason why cryptocurrencies could next blow up in a mainstream way, as people are trying to seek to diversify. Right now, it seems like the best place everyone's saying is I don't know. It looks like US dollar is the best place to be. But will it be forever as inflation continues? Just because they're announcing that they're going to be tapering, for example, or hiking interest rates doesn't mean that they stopped inflation at all. It just means it might be inflating at a lesser pace. So interesting times, definitely interesting for cryptocurrency to be following it as an alternative to those systems. And I do feel like gold cryptos will be, when central banks show their true cards and they can only really inflate, people will have to realize that we need alternatives, and cryptocurrencies will be there as a primary part of that conversation, I do believe. And it does seem to be the case here with those like Stanley Druckenmiller as well. Want to give you a heads up to that. So Oh yeah, just before I went live here, I just had to sneak this in there. It looks like a CryptoPunk was still sold for a massive amount of money. One of the biggest NFT sales that I've seen in recent times. Punk 2924, which looks like a Bored Ape. So that's like the second most popular NFT set collection, I guess you could say, the Bored Apes. But if you want to have both, if you want to have your CryptoPunk and eat it too, have your ape as well. It looks like there was an ape that was just generated at the time, way before these Bored Ape Yacht Clubs collections were issued. And so that's why this is so pricey. So it's sold today for 3,300 ETH, almost $4.5 million. Quite a massive purchase there. But I think that's probably one of the NFTs that will probably hold its value over time, assuming that CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club collectibles do continue to stay at the forefront of that conversation. So we'll finish with a crypto native quote of the day as we wrap up here. So this is by Michael A. Gayed, CFA. He said, "The last great bubble is faith in central banks. It's popping." Take care, everyone. Much love and stay cryptic. Peace.